15,000. That's how many hours it's been since the concept art for the Angels of Delusions first started showing up, and for fans of the formerly nameless idol division as a whole, the start to a saving streak that would last more than a year. But after 15,000 hours, the idols turned angels are now finally here, with Sunna being the first. She has absolutely amazing looking visuals and even cooler character design choices that play perfectly into her theme, and today I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about her, including whether she's actually worth pulling for if you aren't someone who's saved millions of polychromes for her, how to build her, where she'll be strong, and why there's a lot more to this character than people think. As a reminder, footage from today's video will come from the creator beta server, so things are subject to change. Like, comment, and subscribe for good luck on your pulls, and without further ado, let's break down Sunna, the first of the angel faction that we've all been waiting for. Before we jump in though, I want to quickly thank today's sponsor, Enjoygm. If you're playing games like Zenless, Genshin Impact, or Honkai Star Rail, Enjoygm is one of the easiest ways to top up. You just head to the site, select your game and server, enter your UID, choose the amount you want, and you're done. There is no account login or passwords required. A huge advantage, however, to Enjoygm is the pricing. If you're looking to pull Genshin this holiday season, they regularly offer cheaper rates and special discounts compared to official top-ups, which really do add up over time. And as always, when topping up, Enjoygm doesn't require password entry, which is nice, especially for games like Zenless, Genshin, or again Star Rail, or even a title like Wuthering Waves. I'll have my exclusive link pinned in the comments though, so use it today if you want an extra discount when you top up. Thanks again to Enjoygm for sponsoring today's video. Sunna is a support who deals respectable damage while providing strong team-wide buffs. Despite this, she isn't quite at the level of someone like Orphe and Magus, though she does also briefly take the field to spend her resources before quickly swapping off after. That said, Sunna can activate Ether Veils on demand, increase an enemy's stun damage multiplier, and debuff the enemy, and this makes her a solid addition to most teams. To add to this, Sunna is part of the currently strongest lineup in the entire game, with her being the perfect partner to Genshin, but as we'll see in a moment, her additional ability does cause trouble and create limitations with who she can actually be paired with. To understand how Sunna is so strong, but why she can feel so restrictive at times, let's start by explaining her kit. Sunna's special resource is Claw Sharpener, which she generates through multiple sources. Using her ultimate grants 6 stacks, and any teammate that activates an Ether Veil will also provide 2 stacks. Anytime an agent also triggers an attribute anomaly, Sunna will also gain 1 stack as well. Her special mechanic, Ether Veil Delusion Reprise though, is activated through her EX special photography technique, and when her additional ability is active, triggering this increases the enemy's stun damage multiplier while also granting a team-wide attack buff. While allies are in the angelic coordination state, they gain an attack buff equal to 30% of Sunna's initial attack, capped at 1050 attack once Sunna reaches 3500 attack on her stat screen. When Sunna lands a basic attack, EX special, chain attack, or ultimate though, she'll also apply Cat's Gaze to said enemies. If Sunna is the on-field agent, Cat's Gaze will also continuously be refreshed, and affected enemies will become less aggressive towards her specifically. Here's where things get a little bit more complicated. When an attacker or an anomaly agent repeatedly hits an enemy marked with Cat's Gaze, the mark is triggered and removed. If triggered by an attack agent, Cat's Gaze will deal 300% attack as damage, matching the agent's attribute. However, if triggered by an anomaly agent, this will instead deal 480% attack as attribute matching damage and is guaranteed to crit with a base 150% crit damage. If multiple enemies are marked with Cat's Gaze, attacking one will trigger the effect on the target while removing Cat's Gaze from all other enemies. Additionally, when an enemy is stunned, the number of hits required to trigger Cat's Gaze will be reduced, making it much easier to activate and proc during stun windows. So yes, apologies as this is kind of a lot for a character who is actually pretty simple, but in short, Cat's Gaze requires 3 hits to trigger outside of a stun window. It only requires a single hit while the enemy is stunned, and the damage that it deals is dependent on whether the mark is being triggered by an attack or anomaly agent. Sunna's additional ability activates when she is paired with either an attack agent or a member of the Angels of Delusion, but while members are affected by Ether Veil Delusion Reprise, any attacks that they land will increase the enemy's stun damage multiplier by 30%. That said, something that we'll touch on later during the team section is just how impossible it can feel to maintain this additional ability for anomaly agents, as no other angels are currently released, and taking an attack agent on an anomaly based team is often uncommon or just outright harmful / negative to the team's performance. Mischief Meteor Hammer is Sunna's standard 4-hit basic attack combo, and this deals physical damage while serving as her primary on-field attack option. For transparency's sake, this isn't really something that you'll be using quite often, however, but as we move to Naughty Cat Spotted. This triggers automatically when Sunna is off field and no enemies are affected by Cat's gaze. With this, when off field, Bubblegum will then automatically consume one Claw Sharpener to launch an attack that scales off of Sunna's initial attack. When Sunna has enough energy and uses her EX special, Bubblegum is sent out for a physical damage attack, while all squad members gain the Angelic Coordination effect for 40 seconds. During this state, landing a heavy attack will trigger a quick assist prompt, but using her EX special again while in the Angelic Coordination state, or holding the EX special after first using EX special Bubblegum Barrage, will cause Sunna and Bubblegum to perform a combo attack that deals physical damage. This also activates Ether Veil Delusion Reprise, and this is a separate special buff that grants the team 50 attack. As always though, landing the heavy attack once more will trigger another quick assist prompt, but to be clear, the attack increases, the buffing, and the constant quick assisting does personally make Sunna feel closer to Astra than someone like Zhao for me, but again, as we'll see in the team section, the scoring of both characters is much closer than you'd think. Sunna's dodge and assist are nothing special, but though Sunna's chain attack does damage, in most cases it actually isn't worth using since you generally want to use chain attacks on your main DPS to take advantage of the decibel, damage, or unique resource gain. Sunna's ultimate deals physical damage, instantly grants Sunna all 6 Claw Sharpeners, restores 3000 HP to the entire squad, and immediately prompts a quick assist to bring the next agent onto field. But overall, in terms of her kit, what she'll likely be using is just her EX special and her ultimate. For skill priority, you can focus on leveling Sunna's core skill, EX special, and chain equally first, but after this you can invest in her assist, basic, and dodge, though none of these are really as necessary since she doesn't really use them too often anyway. Combo wise, Sunna doesn't really have any and is pretty simple to play, but despite this, she does have the ability to grant quick assists and ether veils on demand, so there are some neat tricks or gameplay goals to consider when playing her. Before we get to that though, her main combo that you'll be using in 99.99% of cases is very straightforward. EX special every 20 seconds to keep up Moonlight Lullaby buffs and to maintain the Angelic Coordination buff, and that's just it. For characters like Guang though, Sunna offers additional value beyond just her raw buffing. Her ability to activate Ether Veil by holding EX special is particularly strong, as each selfie or held EX special cast fills half of Guang's unique resource, enabling much faster access to her enhanced state. When comparing this generation to someone like Zhao, who's forced to wait for their own resource to fill before activating Ether Veil again, Sunna significantly reduces the downtime for Guang and definitely makes her gameplay much smoother. Now this can also be very helpful for other agents too, including the likes of Zhu, despite having great synergy already with Astra Yao, can also be used with Sunna and her constant quick assists to generate more bullets and deal more damage. Now beyond these two options, Sunna's flexibility opens up way more team possibilities. That said, while she may be weaker than Astra Yao or Yuzuha in certain cases, I have found that the real value of new Zenless Zone0 releases is how they free older premium agents from being locked into a single team, and so with having a character like Sunna in your roster, this now gives players more freedom to experiment and reshuffle their lineups instead of just being forced to run the same 3 teams every single time. And trust me guys, this has definitely led to less struggling, better team performances, and higher scores across the board, especially once the Deadly Assault resets. Let's move now to her build. Sunna's signature W engine Thoughtbot provides a massive 60% energy regen as its main stat, and this is alongside a 0.6 energy per second passive while Sunna is off field. When Sunna uses her EX special to deal physical damage though, the entire squad also gains a 12.5% damage increase per stack, stacking up to 2 times. Now once both stacks are active though, the team also receives an additional 10% attack buff, and though this is a nice amount of stats and does contribute nicely to team-wide damage, the reality is that Sunna has many other options that we'll go over soon, and even in terms of building Sunna, there are plenty of other engines that already have energy regen or attack percent if she's looking for certain stat lines or trying to avoid clunkiness with her skill usage. Weeping Cradle is a strong alternative option though for Sunna, and while the 24% pen ratio doesn't directly benefit her personal scaling, the 0.6 energy per second regen here while off field is also helpful once again. To add to this though, since the Battle Pass shop now also includes the ability to purchase engines like this, you may now be tempted to pick up something like Weeping Cradle if you have no alternatives, but this is by no means her best alternative, even despite being an S rank. On that note, another solid alternative is Unfettered Game Ball, and this provides 50% energy regen as its main stat, and whenever Sunna's attacks match with the enemy's weaknesses, all squad members will gain crit rate, which is especially valuable as she does end up being paired with attack agents quite often. However, as a reminder, Game Ball is a Battle Pass engine which isn't accessible by all players, but this isn't the only disclaimer or reminder as well, as again, if you end up using this with Sunna, Sunna, you can only use said engine when the enemy is weak to physical. The last engine that we have is Kaboom the Cannon, and this is Sunna's best free-to-play friendly option. This provides 50% energy regen as its main set, which again fits her playstyle perfectly, but its passive also grants the entire team a 10% attack through its 4 stacks. Though this is of course Sunna's best free-to-play friendly option, this also happens to be an engine that isn't technically craftable, so you may actually need some luck in getting the Kaboom the Cannon, as again it isn't as easy to get as some of the others. For Sunna's drive discs, Moonlight Lullaby is her best 4-piece option, providing energy regen alongside a team-wide damage increase, but if you don't have access to a full Moonlight Lullaby set, you can of course use something like Astro Voice or Swing Jazz until you do. For 2-piece sets though, Sunna can definitely flex into things like Hormone Punk, Astro Voice, or Swing Jazz depending on what best complements your build, but personally I didn't have too much trouble hitting the 3500 attack threshold on Sunna, so I ended up using energy regen, but this can definitely differ from person to person depending on your luck and overall disc drive rolls. For main stats, you'll run attack percent on both the 4th and 5th slots. Then for your 6th slot, you can choose between attack or energy regen, though in most cases you'll likely want energy regen, but for substats you'll definitely prioritize attack percent first, followed by flat attack. Now stat wise though, you'll be aiming to get as close to 3500 attack on the stat screen, but if you end up over capping on attack, you can shift some of this focus into anomaly proficiency, crit rate, or crit damage instead, depending on the type of DPS that you're pairing with your Sunna. It's finally time we address Sunna's teams. To start, I do want to mention that I have a whole separate video on Sunna's teams, and in said video I have disclaimers. I cover many of the lineups that you'll likely test with Sunna upon release, but as many have apparently missed, the full list of recorded teams and lineups are also in said video, which I describe will also be found in the Discord, which you can access at any time. However, let's start with the typical stun plus support team of Sunna, Enjoygm, and Dylan, which happens to be the standout and best performing team with a 43,700 point scoreline in Shield defense and an even stronger 51,400 points in deadly assault, showing just how dominant this lineup can actually be. By comparison, Sunna with zzzero Ambi and Dylan still performed decently in Shield defense with 38,900 points, but this was nowhere near as impressive in deadly assault, only reaching 26,200 points. Now while zzzero Ambi was pretty decent in Shield defense, Evelyn paired with Lighter and Sunna performed even better than they did in deadly assault with a respectable 34,898 scoreline and a 37,920 close scoreline in Shield defense. Of course, for the lineups that I just mentioned, removing some of these supportive or limited characters would result in thousands of points being lost from said scorelines, but overall when used with the more recently buffed or higher tier attack agents, Sunna's performances are respectable or do actually challenge what Astro Yao is capable of, and to that end, especially if you use her with Enjoygm, Sunna is amazing. In double support setups though, Sunna, Enjoygm, Astro Yao performed very well, scoring 40,100 points in Shield defense and 42,000 in deadly assault, showing that the team can still hit strong numbers even without Dylan, but Sunna, Evelyn, Astro Yao was the second highest performing, though they did have a drop in points at 36,500 points in Shield defense and 32,600 points in deadly assault. That said, considering how hard it was to replace premium agents like Lighter or Dylan, the fact that these double support lineups were only a few thousand points away from their counterparts was very impressive. For anomaly focused teams though, Sunna, Yuzuha, and Miyabi performed pretty well with a 37,000 point scoreline in Shield defense, but their score was much lower at 24,000 in deadly assault. This felt pretty impressive though, since the team only had 2 out of 3 additional abilities activated, but meanwhile, though Sunna, Yuzuha, and Yanagi had a slightly lower 36,300 points in Shield defense and 22,000 points in deadly assault, what was even crazier here was the fact that Yuzuha was the only agent with her additional ability active, yet the team still managed to stay relatively close to the Miyabi setup and managed 20,000 plus points in deadly assault and over 33,000 points in Shield defense despite missing so much of their kits. For a more accessible and free-to-play friendly setup though, Sunna, Billy, and Dylan put up a respectable 22,000 points in Shield defense and 22,700 points in deadly assault, but on the other hand, Sunna, Corin, and Dylan also performed pretty well in Shield defense with a 23,000 point scoreline, while landing close behind in deadly assault with a 22,000 point scoreline, making both of these pretty solid low investment options for players looking to run Sunna without having to rely on premium DPS limited agents. Finally, though again a full breakdown of this comparison and section can be found in my team's video, my findings did also lead to the following conclusions about Sunna and her place among supports. If used as a general support, especially with attack agents, Sunna was very similar in performance to that of Astro Yao. If used specifically with Enjoygm though, she was a significant upgrade over Astro Yao, and if being used or compared to Yuzuha, well, she's not really amazing, especially since there weren't that many anomaly teams that that she could work with at the moment, so she was definitely worse, though again, this feels a bit unfair to judge at the moment. Otherwise, as a stand-in support compared to basically any other supportive agent in the game, she was a fair amount stronger, though of course she wasn't very usable with the Rupture cast, as again they scale with HP. Let's move now to Sunna's Mindscapes. Her first Mindscape grants her bonus energy upon entering the battlefield and applies a defense reduction to enemies, and her second grants a squad an attack buff while allowing Sunna to gain a claw sharpener whenever she's within any ether veil. This also increases the damage multiplier of Cat's Gaze and reduces the number of attacks to trigger it, but as we move to her fourth Mindscape, this increases all squad members damage whenever Sunna uses her ultimate. Lastly, the sixth Mindscape for Sunna turns her into a sub DPS, massively increasing her mark damage and unlocking more on-field specific play, but value-wise her M1 and M2 will provide the greatest increases in damage at 14 and 13% each. That said, it's also worth mentioning that her M1 will specifically gain better value if you happen to already have M2 on your Ye Shun Guang, but personally overall I'd probably stop at M1, and if you're still deciding on whether you should get her signature or get her M1, I would definitely recommend picking up her signature W engine. I would definitely recommend picking up her engine. Now let's move to Sunna's pros and cons. To start with her pros, she is an important part of the strongest DPS lineup in the game, she's easy to build, she isn't super reliant on her signature W engine, and she's very easy to play. However, as we move to her cons, she doesn't pair perfectly with most anomaly teams at the moment, and she's also very energy reliant. So with all this, there's a lot to be excited for when it comes to Sunna. For those who have waited over a year now for her design, animations, and kit look promising, and otherwise, she's a good option for players who need to support and don't have access to Astra Yao. Ultimately though, Sunna is by no means the Astra killer or the Yuzaha slayer, and instead she's a fantastic addition to most attack teams and likely to be amazing with Arya, though we don't have access to her yet. Thanks again for watching though guys, I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, good night.